guys, in this episode we are going to be talking about audio basics that all videographers should know. We're going to be looking at a couple plugins in Premiere as well as how to remove some noise in Adobe Audition. The first thing we're going to be looking at today is a little trick you can use in the Essential Sound panel. It's going to help level out your audio a lot quicker, and it's going to come in handy on those long form edits. First thing you're going to want to do is highlight all of your dialogue. You're going to come up here to Essential Sound panel. If you don't have this one activated in your workspaces yet, you're going to have to activate it first. So you're going to do that by coming up to Window and just go ahead and scroll down to the Essential Sound panel and just make sure that little check mark is there. Once you have your dialogue highlighted, you're going to come up here and click Dialogue. Go ahead and leave this alone for now. Then you're going to take all of your music and click on Music, and then this is where you're going to be able to auto set all of your keyframes to come down when that dialogue comes in. So you're going to scroll down here to Ducking, and if you don't see it, if it's showing up like this, you're just going to click on the box, and that will bring down all of your controls. If they're grayed out like this, you're going to want to click this checkbox here in the upper right corner. Make sure that at Duck Against you have dialogue highlighted, because that will tell the filter to only look for these dialogue clips when it's bringing down your music. I would set the sensitivity to high so it picks up on all the little gaps between your dialogue spots. The Reduce By is going to be how far down you need that music to come into the acceptable threshold. For us, we like to set any music, natural audio, or sound effects that come under dialogue to peak between -18 and -21. So what I like to do is listen to the track, see where it's peaking, and then just do the math to see how to get it down to that level. For the fades, I just keep it on auto. They do a nice clean fade, so I don't have to worry about it too much. I just pull the keyframes one way or the other if I need it to be a little bit smoother. Once you have your settings all dialed in, you're going to come down here to Generate Keyframes, hit that button, let the plugin do its work. Once you zoom in here to your timeline, you'll see that all of your keyframes are set to correspond with the start and stop points of your dialogue. You are going to have to do a little bit of adjustment to make it as clean as you need it, but it will save you a ton of time. You won't have to go in and put points all along your music track and set it every time that your audio changes. This next question is how to remove noise in Adobe Audition. Adobe Audition can be pretty intimidating if you're not familiar with any audio effects or if you're not a professional audio mixer, but this trick will save you a lot of headache, and this gives you a little bit more control. You can pinpoint the exact noise you're trying to remove. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to take your piece of audio that you're looking to clean up. You're going to right click and come up here to Edit Clip in Adobe Audition. And then once you're in here, you really only need to focus on a couple areas. So you're going to come into your timeline and look for a space like this where the speaker is not talking, but you get that solid room noise. Once you found a space that has the noise that you're looking to remove, you're going to just click and drag to highlight that space. You're going to want to listen to it a few times though and make sure those in and out points are really set, because if you get any sort of frequency that's also in the speaker's dialogue, you'll start to cut those out as well, and that'll make the tone of your dialogue sound a little funky. Once you have your section set up, you're going to come up here to Effects, Noise Reduction Restoration, and Capture Noise Print. You're going to want to make sure that you click this first before using the plugin. That way it can take the noise from this one section and find it throughout the audio clip and replace it throughout. Once that's done, you're just going to deselect your area. You're going to come back up to Effects, Noise Reduction Restoration, and now the Noise Reduction Process. From here you can play around with these two sliders. So Noise Reduction is going to be the amount that it pulls out that noise. So you can just kind of slide this slider around, give it a couple listens, and see exactly where it's at. For this one, we're just going to start at 100 and listen to it. The Reduce By is how many decibels you want to bring that noise down to help eliminate it. So for this, we're just going to keep it right here at the 20. So then we are going to hit Apply. And as you can see here, it took out those chunks of just room noise and left all of our speaker's audio intact. Now, one step that is easy to forget is you're going to want to save this after you've done all your settings. What that does is it now is going to render and replace the clip we just cleaned up with the clip in our Premiere timeline. So if we navigate to Premiere, you'll notice that the clip is now called the original name Audio Extracted, and if you look here on the timeline, you can see that noise has now been removed. This isn't going to fix any serious issues, but it's a quick and easy way to sweeten your audio. If you ever pull your audio into Premiere and notice it feels a little harsh coming straight out of your lav or your recorder, this effect will be great to help make it sound a little bit smoother and more natural. So you're going to want to go into your Effects tab, find Parametric Equalizer, and you're either going to highlight your clip and double click it, or you can just click and drag it onto the clip you're going to use it on. Okay. From the Effects control panel, we're going to click on the Edit button right here to the right of the effect, and that'll pull up the graph. It's going to look a little intimidating, but I promise it's really easy once you get the hang of it. So the H and the L are shelves, and if you adjust either of those, you're going to start to cut off entire frequencies. These points, 1 through 5, are different types of frequencies, with 1 starting at your lowest or base, and 5 being your highest. And then here below the graph, you'll see gain for each point. So when you pull it up or down, you'll notice that you're either boosting or lowering the gain for that frequency. And then below that, you're going to see Q/width. If you adjust that number, the wave will get either wide and really smooth or narrow and come all the way to a point. So if you happen to have a hum around the 50 hertz, that tends to happen with some recorders, you can actually just come straight here to this number 1 point, type in 50, and select your notch all the way up, and then you can drag it down to help eliminate that hum. So the main things to remember here are 1 and 2 are going to bring up your lower or bass frequencies, so they will give a bit more depth to the speaker's voice if it's feeling a little flat or hollow, whereas 4 and 5 will bring up your higher frequencies, and that will add some clarity to the speaker's voice. A very basic adjustment you can do with this effect is adding a high-pass filter, and that can help you eliminate any tinny quality that may come out of your recording. And you're going to do that by just clicking on this HP here at the bottom. Take that HP point and drag it right about where your audio is peaking, and that will help kind of balance out some of that echo or tinny that you may be getting out of your recorder. And then that's a very basic look at what you can do with this effect. You're going to want to really dig into it more and play around with it to really learn what's going to work for your audio. So the next thing we are going to look at is Multiband Compressor, as it combines EQ and compression all into one effect. So if Parametric Equalizer is a little too intimidating, this effect will probably work great for you. Multiband Compressor is going to be in your effects panel. I have it here saved to my favorites. So again, we're just going to double click, or we can drag and drop. Just like before, we're going to come down here to the edit to the right. That'll pop up our effects window. When you first open up the effects window, you're going to see 4 columns here at the bottom. Each one of these columns represents a different band of frequencies, hence the multi-band name. So these 4 bands would be similar to the 1 through 5 points we saw in the Parametric Equalizer. Going from left to right, you start with your low or your bass and move up to your high frequencies. These settings down here are going to be your compression settings. Threshold tells the compressor when to turn on and when to turn back off. So if you set this to -6 dB, anytime your audio goes above -6, it will turn on, and anytime it goes below -6, it will turn off. So you're going to want to set your threshold to where you want your audio to be hitting. And then the ratio is actually how much the compressor either pulls the audio up or pushes it back down once it reaches that threshold. So a 2-to-1 ratio is going to be half as big, a 4-to-1 ratio is going to be a quarter, and then so on and so forth, just your basic math ratios. So if we have a 2-to-1 ratio and our audio goes 4 decibels above our threshold, it's going to pull it back by 2. And then these last numbers we have are attack and release, which is how quickly the compressor turns on and how quickly it turns back off. So if your audio is peaking over that threshold, the attack number will tell the compressor how quickly it needs to pull back the audio, where the release number will tell it how quickly it needs to actually release the audio once it returns to that safe range. You can probably stick with these auto numbers because anything too fast or too slow is going to cause some distortion. If you feel like that transition isn't smooth enough, then you can go ahead and adjust these numbers. As we play our piece of audio, you will see that the 4 colors of waveforms match these 4 columns. And as you adjust these sliders is how you will actually begin to equalize those different frequencies. So if your audio has a hiss in it, you can adjust it here on the high band, whereas if it has a rumble or a slight hum, you can adjust it here on the low band. But again, if it's really noticeable, I would just pull it into Audition and clean it up there. Just remember that these sliders boost the audio in a similar way that adjusting the points on the Parametric Equalizer does, so you want to keep an eye on your gain, which you can actually adjust with this master slider here to the right. So that's 4 simple tips and tricks you can use to clean up your audio. Like I said, it's not going to help you achieve any serious repair work, but it can definitely sweeten and balance out your audio.